quite a week in British politics. What did you make of that? Resignations, possible leadership challenge?
Well, I think, plenty going on last week. The reality is, though, this is a government that is paralysed. We've got a Prime Minister worried about how he keeps the keys to number 10. We've got the rest of the Cabinet worrying how they are going to get the keys to number 10. They're not worried about the issues that are affecting real people out there. Their priorities are keeping hold of power, not worrying about the cost of living, not worrying about the crime and antisocial behaviour that's going on our streets, and not worried about those energy prices that are through the roof. This is not good for the country.
And this whole kind of Labour psychodrama that's going on right now, it does have echoes of those Toryship constant leadership challenges that we saw in the last government. Do you think it's fair for you or your party to comment and criticise on the government right now?
Well, people will make their own assessments about the impact of the birthday cake and what went on there, and they'll put that against the fact that our Prime Minister, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, appointed to the most high, prestigious diplomatic post that this country has to offer, a man who was linked to one of the most vile paedophiles ever to walk the earth. They'll look back at almost record levels of employment when the last government left office, to 17% more people unemployed. They'll look at the fact that businesses are going to the wall at the fastest rate since the world economic crash. This isn't an accident, it isn't a surprise. When you slam people with the jobs tax, when you slam businesses with increases to business rates, and when you hamper them with the Employment Rights Bill, there are real consequences for people out there who want to get on with their lives and have a decent job to go to.
And if there was a leadership election, the two front runners, it seems like one of the two front runners, Andy Burnham and Wes Streeting, they were both asked about rejoining the EU. Wes Streeting said he'd be in favour of reversing Brexit. Andy was a bit less. He hasn't really made his position clear yet, but said there was a case for it. What did you make of that?
Well, the problem isn't just Keir Starmer, it's the Labour Party. Having Andy Burnham at the helm, having Wes Streeting at the helm will not make a difference. The reality is they arrived in office without any sort of plan about how they're going to take on the challenges facing the country, and the consequences are there for all to see. They doled out more union cash and benefits for the unions. They doled out more in welfare. Anybody who's out there working hard, doing the right thing, is struggling to make ends meet as a result of the choices of this Labour government. Neither Streeting, Starmer nor Burnham have the answers.
And just on that point of rejoining the EU, I mean, these chaps behind, there's clearly a lot of feeling about that. Do you think it would be fair for a new Prime Minister to come in and advocate rejoining the EU?
Well, we talk about the Westminster bubble. This is the Westminster circus. It's not concentrating on the things that actually matter out there. People out there who are losing their jobs by the day now as a result of the decisions made by this government, they aren't blaming the EU. They know that it's because of the jobs tax, it's because of the increases to business rates, because of the Employment Rights Bill, and because families and businesses across the country are paying some of the highest prices for energy on the planet.
And just moving on slightly, it's been a week now since those local election results. What was your reflections on that, and how do you think the Conservatives did?
Well, it's always devastating to lose hard-working councillors across the country. That has real consequences for communities as well as those individuals. But actually, when you compare it, many of these elections were last fought in 2021, when we had the vaccine bounce, when the Conservatives were polling at 43%. Actually, if you want to compare it to last year and how things have changed, Reform's share of the vote went backwards, Labour's share of the vote went seriously backwards, the Conservative share of the vote went forwards. But there's a long way to go. When I'm out there on the doorsteps, people are impressed by Kemi, they like what she's got to say, they're hearing a bit more from her, even Nicki Minaj loves her. So all to play for, a long way to go.
And Kemi on the morning after, on the Friday, I listened to her talk outside Westminster County Council, which is one of your games where you regained it. If you heard her speak, it sounded a bit like a victory speech, where in reality you were going backwards, you were losing councillors. Do you think she's in denial about maybe how badly you actually did?
Well, there was two factors there. You had many of those elections, those county council elections were last fought in 2021 when we had those record levels of support for the Conservative Party. Many people also talked about the fact that the council elections that were being fought were for administrations that were only going to last a year. They didn't consider it as serious as they might otherwise. In the old days, the Liberal Democrats used to do very well in local elections. They aren't a de facto vote for a general election. We're going to keep putting our real plan, considered plan forwards. People are buying into Kemi, they like what she stands for, they like the fact that she is a serious woman who can make the serious decisions needed to fix this country. A leader with a backbone is just what this country needs.
Mr Streeting, you've just called for a proper contest for the Labour leadership, and you called on Labour to step up. Are you going to step up and contest the Labour leadership? End the suspense now, please.
John, we need a proper contest with the best candidates on the field, and I'll be standing. Labour has been in existence for 126 years and in power for only 35. Our time in government is precious. We must not waste it. Change begins with an argument. You don't make progress without one. That's why this week I call for a battle of ideas, not personalities, because we haven't had a debate in the Labour Party about who and what we're for in more than a decade. Corbyn's leadership was marred by factionalism. The moral emergency of anti-Semitism in our party left little room for intellectual renewal or policy debate on the centre-left. We then had a dishonest leadership contest, followed by an over-cautiousness in opposition. Interesting policy ideas couldn't be floated because we were too afraid of what the Tories might say, so we said nothing. Instead of a willingness to challenge ideas and kick the tyres, debate was viewed as division and shut down. As a result, we arrived in government underprepared in too many areas and lacking clarity of vision and direction. Questions which had gone unanswered in opposition couldn't be ignored in office, leading to the early catastrophe of the winter fuel cut. We've carried this culture into government with a heavy-handed approach that has seen backbenchers scolded for interesting private members' bills, which weren't the government's policy, on things like banning smartphones in schools, as well as withdrawing the whip from a good Labour MP speaking up for his farmers, only for the government to later adopt his position. That's why we need a proper contest where all candidates can put their best foot forward. It's got to be a battle of ideas so that whoever wins comes out stronger for it. Because when Labour loses, the country loses. And the stakes are higher than ever. Because for the first time in Labour's history, our biggest opponents aren't the Conservatives, but Nigel Farage and Reform. In 2026, the British people increasingly see that in a dangerous world we must club together, both to rebuild our economy and trade and improve our defence against the shared threats from Russian aggression and the retreat of America first. The biggest economic opportunity we have is on our doorstep. We need a new special relationship with the EU because Britain's future lies with Europe and one day, back in the European Union. Second, a continuity between our current government and the new Labour government is a reluctance to ask the question, what type of capitalism do we want? We've tended to assume that we're simply the recipients of change inflicted on us by technology or economic headwinds, rather than realising that it is our rules, our institutions, our alliances that shape the kind of economy we have. This is an argument for a Britain that grows again and grows together, not just growth that shows up in spreadsheets in Whitehall or stock prices in the city. We need growth that people can feel in their wages, in their high streets, in the chances their kids have in life. Social democracy only works when the economy is growing. You cannot build world-class public services or raise living standards by managing decline.